certain tests, they are expensive to take.
Yes.
And so that's one of the hiccups too, is like, am I willing to put this much money back
It's
into this
definitely an
test?
investing. It's investing in yourself, because that entire time you have to treat it, when you're studying for the bar, almost like it's school. It's an 8 hours a day process. And so I wouldn't advise anybody, if they didn't have to work during that period for those few months, because everything's riding on it. So I just treated it like it was a job. I woke up, I studied, and then, at the end of the day, I might be done, but I try to at least get my few hours in, 4 or 5 hours in every day studying the materials.
Man, shout out to you.
And so, yeah.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Armand Lindsay back again with another episode of Big Boss Talk, the podcast. You guys know what we like to do on this show. We like to bring different people of color, minority, and just give them a spotlight of, highlighting, what they got going on, their success, everything that they've been doing, just to show a different representation of what we're, accustomed to, right? Giving people the opportunity to say, hey, if I like this or you like that, I'm bringing them on the show so you can understand and get the pros and the cons of what they do and see if it's a good fit for you. But other than that, man, I got a crazy guest. It's crazy how I even got this guy on the show, man. His name is Jerome Kelly. And what's crazy is I was at work. I think I was just at the job. And some of the coworkers, we decided, like, hey, we're going to do some lunch. We'll go to the Mediterranean spot. We go to the Mediterranean spot. Nice. We was just kind of chilling, just trying to pass time. The guy I was with, Tim, is like I guess he's habitual. He goes all the time. But he seen Jerome, and he was like, hey, man, I know I seen you here before. And then they kind of just connected. And I was like, man, that's cool. Like, they know each other just based off seeing each other passing by. And so for me, I was just like, man, let me just introduce myself just to say what's up. And, I'm new to the area, so I'm just like, let me just make a connection here and there. So Jerome gives me his card. I'm like, oh, man, he's an attorney. I'm like, I've never had an attorney on the show. I never, talked to an attorney before. So I'm just like, maybe it'll be a good time for me to just introduce myself, get to know him, make a connection, and then see if he could share some light on his career and what he does. And Jerome was like, yeah, I got you. You know what I'm saying? It was one of those things where it was like, he didn't waste no time, and I was so appreciative, just because I know how it is. And when a stranger comes up to you, asks you to do something, it's kind of like, I don't know. But he said, yeah. So, Jerome, man, say what's up to the podcast, man.
Hey, what's up, podcast? Happy to be here.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. So, Jerome, it wouldn't be Big Boss Talk, the podcast, if we didn't do our icebreaker, which is 2 truths and a lie. Obviously, I know you gotta give me some tough statements. I'm gonna try my best. I don't know Jerome from a can of paint right now.
Right,
but
that's true.
Hopefully I can, get the lie. If not, it is what it is. So let's hear it.
Okay. One, I was homecoming king at my high school.
Okay.
2, I'm a twin. Or 3, I got a football scholarship to college.
Oh man. So we got so we got homecoming king in high school.
And I know you're good at this, man, so I tried to give you some good ones.
Yeah. Got a twin, and then the last one was football scholarship. All right, so look, I checked Jerome. Jerome, he gotta be like 6 something. You know what I'm saying? Solid. So I'm like, okay, you might have got a little, got a scholarship to play football. Might have been like a tight end, defensive linebacker, defensive back, something like that back in the day. I'm not sure. So I think I'm gonna say true to that one. That's a true. Now the ones I'm confused with is homecoming king, and then you have a twin. So if you have a twin, I mean, that's a possibility for homecoming king. Your twin could have been the homecoming king, but I don't know, man. But I'm gonna say the lie is the homecoming king, and that's.
No, I got you. I don't know how many people get you, but I feel real good about it because I know that's a skill of yours.
Yeah.
No, the lie is the football scholarship. I got an academic scholarship to college, But a lot of people, I get that a lot because of my frame, and I did play in high school.
Got you.
But I decided not to play going into college. I had a real bad injury to my knee, so I didn't do it. But most people that I meet, when they see that I went to TSU, they're like, "Oh, you play football there?" And I'm cool with a lot of the football players from TSU, and they just assume, but nah. So I am a twin, and I was homecoming king at a local high school here in Stafford. So.
Man, that's crazy. Okay.
I have a twin sister, though. I have a twin sister, so that's a little different.
Okay, that's a little different. Yeah, that's different. Okay, so I mean, that's pretty cool. How was it growing up with a twin sister? Like, did y'all?
Oh man, it was dope, and it's like something that twins all share. They probably all feel the same way about this. You can have whatever you want, like growing up, but when you have a twin, you always got a partner. You always got a friend. So you don't really have to worry about too much because you always have that, So we were really close growing up. And now that we're adults, I'm 34, I'm about to be 35 this year. So we're about to be 35 in May. It's a little different. We have kids, we have our own lives and things like that. But growing up is great because you're always there. And then we're having a twin sister.
Man.
We were all friends. So her friends obviously are all around me. And then, my friends, they look at her like a sister. I get to talk to her friends. It was cool. So I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it for anything.
For sure, man. That sounds like a dope little situation. Just like, man, that's your friend. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then, vice versa. So, I mean, that's pretty cool just growing up, having that buddy. Like, I always said if I had a twin, man, I would have a ball. Like, I'm already kind of like outgoing a little bit. And so now I got somebody that look like me. Oh, we about to play games. We doing everything.
Right.
So that's what's up, man. Okay, cool. So with I'm gonna do the little read off that you sent me. Okay, so for the people listening, right, we have Jerome Kelly, civil trial attorney. He's 10 years in the profession. He got a BA in political science and juris doctorate degree. Man, can you tell me I always like this question. Did you always know you wanted to be an attorney, or when you were growing up, did you have other dreams and aspirations of what you wanted to do?
When I was growing up, I was one of those people that was really into sports. So I was one of those kids that really was like, okay, I'm going to do like football, basketball. I'm going to go to college for that.
Right.
And so the injury really made me mature really quickly because I realized that I wasn't going to be able to do that. But I'm not even going to give the impression that I wasn't good in academics. I was always really good and strong in academics. So that's one thing that helped me. So I knew when that went away that I could go to school for something and try. And so growing up, nobody in our family, at least had even graduated from college yet. I'm talking about me and my twin. Yeah. We have an older sister as well. And so when we started, it was kind of new. We did the application process together. She went to SFA. Okay. I actually applied to Baylor and got in. That's dope. And I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life as far as going into it. I just wanted to go. Yeah. I figured that I'd get into, pre-med or something like that, maybe pre-pharmacy. So what ended up happening, in which I feel happened for the best, is that me having parents, and it's not their fault, that, me being a first generation person going to college, I sent back my acceptance letter, but there was something that you have to send back that reserves your spot at Baylor. Got it. And you have to stay on campus in the dorms. So I didn't send that back in time. So I think I called maybe a day or two late, and they were like, we sent your acceptance letter. They were like, we don't accept everybody at Baylor. We sent that to someone else. You know what I mean? So they gave me the advice. They said, you can just go to HCC, go to your local community college. They have one in Stafford, and just come back the next semester. You're still accepted. We just don't have a spot for you. Gotcha. But rather than do that same very day, I applied to Texas Southern. Okay. And the reason I say it worked out for the best, and kind of how life unfolds sometimes, you think something is bad, but sometimes it can turn good, is they immediately sent me an academic scholarship. At Baylor, I only had a partial, and I was going to be paying a lot. It's a private school. And so Texas Southern gave me a full scholarship, so I didn't have to worry about the student loans, which is a huge thing that we're seeing now, especially in our generation. So I think it worked out for the best for me in doing it that way. But it wasn't until I got to Texas Southern when I found out that I wanted to get into political science. I was really into history, African American studies, and politics. So that's what I liked. So when I found out they had a nice poli-sci program, that's what they called it, I went into that. And that kind of pushed me towards law, because most people who get a political science degree, they intend to go to law school after. So that's kind of how that happened for me.
Man, that's crazy. So I've talked to so many people, and even my own life experience, where you feel like you said, you was going to go to Baylor, which I stayed in Austin for a year, and being that close to Baylor, like just being able to go and drive down, it's pretty amazing school by itself, of course.
Right.
But just having your mindset on one thing, and then some little wrinkle sets you back, and then you have to go an alternative route. But that alternative route is sometimes ends up being the best thing for you. So like coming out of that with a full scholarship, full ride academically is amazing, because I don't talk to too many people that don't have 50 to 100,000 worth of school debt.
Right.
And that's kind of like, just like you said, in our generation is the downfall. Even myself, like I went to college for 4 years. I played football, but I had a scholarship, and I just misjudged my time. I added an extra semester because I was like, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was like, maybe I can go into the Army, typical, just like, I don't know what to do, but I got to do something productive. So I was like, Army. So I started the ROTC. In a semester, I found out that's not for me. Because you know what I'm saying? Like I was playing football. I was an offensive lineman. I'm like 290. And these guys, like I say, soaking wet, maybe 145, and they just running laps. I'm like, nah, this might not be for me.
Right.
And so, you just realize things, and luckily enough, I knew myself, where I was like, I'm not going to force myself to do something that I know I will hate probably, a year from now. So that's pretty dope. Now, what about politics that you really enjoy? Because I meet a lot of people that, they like politics, but they don't have the courage to actually jump into it. And somebody wanted to do political science and go and be a very strong advocate in politics, but they said it was very corrupt. Like when they got into it, and it was like super corrupt, and she was like, that's just not my style of what she wanted to do. And I'm not saying that's how it is everywhere, but what kind of intrigued you about politics?
So what initially got me into politics is that I had a love for history.
Just history.
And just for whatever reason, I guess I was like, and people couldn't tell that, because you were an athlete too. So you wouldn't tell that about me. Like in elementary school, even back then in elementary school, I was always interested in United States presidential history. Yeah. I remember being in detention, and I would read the book on the United States presidents, and I just memorized them. And so they always intrigued me, the steps in the political process. For whatever reason, I just found it interesting. So that's what got me into it, is the love of history and the politics. And so when I got into college, like you said, when you major in it, you learn more about it. You learn more about the political process in itself and everything that goes into it. And people don't have any idea about everything that goes into it unless you really dive into it, like you say. That's when you'll see all the aspects of how money can influence things and things like that. And I have a really good friend that I met in college and law school, was actually a huge city council member, and he took that step to be involved actively into the politics. So me, I don't know if it was just based on my personality. Just getting that degree in politics, I knew I didn't want to run for, let's say, a justice of the peace, or be a judge, or be a city council member. At least right then, I wanted to take the law school route. But it did, at least learning about it taught me that I didn't want to dive into it, that I wanted to get the degree and then go do something else.
Do you have aspirations of being like,
I think in the future, but this is the reason why. I think politics is so heavily influenced by outside things that you really need to make sure you have the right connections, the network, and the money backing. before you get into it. And so I think maybe in the future, I could see that down the line because just and how my network has grown in Houston and the people that I know, and just the service too of giving back. And I think it would be good to do that. So I could see in the future, but right now I'm fine with right now.
Yeah. Man, I can with your charisma, man, and how you present yourself on the screen, man, I can definitely see it. It'll be dope for me to know somebody, actually know somebody that's jumping into like the political game and just being able to watch and see how they move and go through that process. That would be so amazing just to be able to watch and see, just because I sit down and have a conversation with you now, and just see your passion before history and politics and the service piece behind everything that you're doing. So talk to me about, and like I said, I love to break it down into pieces. So we talked about the beginning of just, where your mindset was, how you ended up, even choosing the poli sci, going into the, taking the law route. But now for people that feel like, hey, I think I want to do that too, they got to go to school and they got to be able to do the work. What was the hardest part about chasing that, that poli-sci degree and getting that Juris Doctorate degree? Like, how much schooling did you have to take? And just what were some of the, challenges that you saw through your process?
So when I started at Texas Southern University, it's a historically Black college and university. Okay. So it really helped. Like I said, it was a double-edged sword. It helped me financially because I received the scholarship. And when you receive the scholarship, they like to put the scholarship kids together and you have to go to special things together. They call it the honors program. So that was fine. The other side of that, though, being at an HBCU, is that there was a lot of distractions. And me being from a school that was, from a city that's near Houston, Stafford is basically Houston. I had a lot of friends that weren't on the scholarship, weren't in the honors program, weren't on scholarship, but they were just there because it's a local college, right? And so just balancing the what could be perceived as distractions. Like I started the university back in 2005. This is when the yard, that's what they call it. It was live, man. They had a DJ. All the frats were out there. All the sororities out there. They step in. I mean, it was live in between 11 and 1 p.m. And so really being mature enough to actually go, that's the first step.
Got it.
And I think that's something that you have to have before you get to college. You have to have that discipline before, because that's how I was in high school. Like in high school, my friends, they could act up, they could do whatever, but they knew they always had a running joke. They're like, Jerome's going to go to class and he's going to turn in his work, no matter what. Like they'll be playing around, they'll acting up. But they say they had this joke about me just sneaking my paper in. I'm like, yeah, y'all do you, but I'm going to do me. You know what I mean? And I've always been like that. I've always been like that. So just the fact of not getting distracted and having discipline to, at the very least, going to class, because as you know, in college, you don't have anybody there to make you go.
No.
You know what I mean? There's a really big pressure that's put on you as an adult really quickly when you haven't really worked in that environment before at 18, 19. And so just the first step is going and making sure that you fully commit to that first. So not being distracted is the key to me.
Okay.
Out of the probably 10 friends that I started with, I think I was the only one who graduated on time. That's not to say that you should graduate in 4 years, but it just shows that if you really concentrate, you can. And if you get distracted, it's all right. You could take a year or 2 or 3 off and still do it, but you can definitely be more efficient with your time if you just focus on what you really there to do. So
that's crazy that you said that, because I know so many people. I'm glad, for me personally, like I don't think I would have been able to, if I would have stayed close to home, like went to a college close to home. I'm not gonna say I wouldn't. I think it would have been a very hard, a learning curve. Like I would have, like the first semester, I would have like, oh my God, like, and then it would have clicked like, all right, come on now, you got to get it together.
Right.
Everything, you know, whatever everybody else doing, it's gonna still be there. Once you get out, it's still gonna be there. Everybody gonna still probably be doing the same exact thing.
Yes.
You gotta focus on you. But luckily, I had the opportunity. I went away. I was like 2.5 hours away, which was close enough where mom could, you know, if I needed a care package, you know, she'd get me right. But it was far enough where the homies was like, I don't know, dog. I can't. 2 hours. I ain't gonna do it. But you know, it is what it is. And so, but I have people and friends that were close to home, and I felt like if they weren't so close to home where people could just touch, gravitate, and just go up there, I think they would have been on a whole different, you know, trajectory with just what they got going on. Not to say that, you know, it was a bad thing. I just think it would have helped. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
getting away.
I completely agree with you on that. Having all my friends from high school still there at college, it really did, you know, I'm not going to say it was a distraction. I liked it because those are the homies. Those were the guys that were there. But I also didn't join any frats, right? Because I'm like, I got my friends, my friends here. It stops you from maybe meeting other social circles that you're not mature enough to understand that as a professional, when you meeting people in these fields, that y'all be lifelong friends, and y'all know each other forever. Go ahead and start networking now. So since I felt like I had my network at 18, I feel like I didn't really network as I could have.
Right.
And so that's maybe one thing that I, you know, give advice to my kids if they go to. Don't be afraid to go away from home, you know, and if you stay close by home, still be able to talk to new people and expand your circle, especially while you're in college, because that's an opportunity to do that. That's what it's for. Don't be afraid. I always tell my kids, don't let fear control you. And that's something that's really hard. You have to learn from experience.
Definitely have to learn from experience, man. I resonate with that heavily, and think it's super important just to branch out and you know, for me, like even just like how I met you and just saying like, hey man, I would love to get your number. Like I'm cool with that. Like I think naturally I can do that, but something deep down inside of me sometimes always is like, maybe he gonna be like, nah, you know. And then there's always that fear that does come with it. But I'm always like, I need to just go ahead and put myself out there. The worst thing he could have said was no. Other than that, if I ran into him again, I'm like, what's up, man? How's it going? That type of deal. So I think that's always amazing. What about you? You know, graduating from, you know, took you 4 years to get your Juris Doctorate degree. Obviously, you had to go into law school. And how long was law school? And then what was the process of like choosing the correct program for you to go into?
Okay, so pretty much by your junior year, you need to start making those decisions if you want to go to law school, because there's a few things that you have to do. You have to take a test, at least in the state of Texas, called the LSAT, where all the law schools look at your scores from that and judge you, and along with other criteria based on like your GPA, your the community groups that you're in, and your GPA and your LSAT score. And so, and you'll have an interview process. So all of those things combined, you really need to start getting that together during your junior year, going into your senior year. And so I ended up going to Texas Southern's law school so I could stay there. And they also gave me a scholarship, by the way, which I can't, you know, thank enough to have an HBCU that really looks out for people. That's two times looking out for me. And so I appreciate that. So I always give credit to TSU, both the university and the law school, for that. And so once you get in, law school takes 3 years to get your Juris Doctorate. And something that I think most people don't know right off the bat, and which I didn't know, is that you don't specialize in anything in particular. Like what I do is I'm a civil trial law lawyer. And so before I started law school, I thought that you can like major in that and, you know, basically come out of law school with a major accreditation for that. But what happens is you get like a blanket Juris Doctorate degree and you have to learn all facets of the law. And you can take like electives just like in when you get your bachelor's on whatever you like. But the major courses you have to learn a broad area of the law, and all of that stuff is covered on the bar exam. So I think that's what kind of trips people up is how much information that they have to learn in all the different areas, even though you might not be interested in practicing in those areas. And so that was 3 years. And then at the end of that, you're done with law school and you have to register for the bar exam, which is in July. And so you still don't have a job. You still haven't done anything. You just spent a lot of money usually. And at the very least, you spent a lot of time investment on these 3 years. So if anything, that's what stresses everybody out is studying for the bar exam, because it's so much riding on it. You don't want to go to school for that long and not get what you were there to get as your goal. So that was the when I say, as far as everything else to me was almost like regular college, but studying for that exam with the amount of pressure it was to pass it, that was a lot. Because it was a 3-day exam, and back when I took it, part one day was all written. Now you can type it, but it was written, and then they have a multiple choice and a short answer, and it took 3 days. So it's a big investment on time, and you just got to make sure you pass that bar. That's it.
Oh man, that's a lot of pressure, man. Your whole career is riding on this one test. And my wife, I mean, I know some people that may not have passed the bar exam, and it kind of messes with your mind a little bit too, because it's like, do I want to go back? You know what I'm saying? I did all this work, and I guess at that point, you just kind of realize, like, I came this far, right? And I may have failed this bar exam, but I know I believe there's opportunity for me to go out here and try it again. So I think that's relieving, but I do know with these certain tests, they are expensive to take. And so that's one of the hiccups too, is like, am I willing to put this much money back?
It's definitely an investment. It's investing in yourself, because that entire time you have to treat it, when you're studying for the bar, almost like it's school. It's an 8 hours a day process. And so I wouldn't advise anybody, if they didn't have to work during that period for those few months, because everything's riding on it. So I just treated it like it was a job. I woke up, I studied, and then, at the end of the day, I might be done, but I try to at least get my few hours in, 4 or 5 hours in every day studying the materials.
Man, shout out to you.
And so, it was crazy, man. But it is what it is.
Yeah. And when you was explaining the process, as far as like when you go to law school, you have to take it's a more bigger umbrella. You have to learn different facets of the law. It reminds me of when people go, in the medical field, right? Your residency, you got to go through each different residency, and then you see these posts where people are getting matched to what specific, point, you know what I'm saying? And it's crazy that law, medical, they have the similar processes and how they acquire talent, how they, people, get into these jobs, and it's crazy that it's very strenuous. And I sometimes I feel like the test and everything you have to go through is kind of like a weed out process, in a sense, because tell me if I'm wrong, but you take the bar exam, but every so often you have to retake a test to, reclassify yourself to be able to still do law.
Every year you have to take what we call continuing legal education classes. You can take them on any subject you want, but you have to get those hours in. And in fact, mine are coming due because my birthday's in May. So you have to make sure you have those hours. So you have to keep up the process, keep on educating yourself and taking those tests and making sure that you're up to date on it. So it is a requirement, but it's all worth it, and it can be done. And so I want to make sure that the people on your podcast understand that if anything that anybody else in these other law schools do, it's like we could do it too. It can be done, and it's a lot of people. The most, I'm not going to say the most successful, but I know a lot of really good attorneys that went to Texas Southern University, because it's like a lot of people that went to TSU, they have a hustling work ethic. You know what I mean? A lot of them open up their own solo firms, or they're business owners too. So it's like, I just want to stress that it can be done.
Yeah. I think you put it right on, put the needle in the coffin. I mean, we have this mentality. We got to work, twice as hard and be twice as good as our counterparts. And I think that drive and that that just comes from just naturally our culture and what we do. So I do want to ask, what is a civil trial attorney? Like, what is it what is your specific expertise?
So in the civil trial attorney, what I do for the firm that I work at now is I do jury trials, but on the civil side. So you can have a criminal case where somebody's life is basically in the hands of a jury or a judge because that person can go away. On the civil side, it's a different burden of proof. And in particular, if you see all the people on the commercials where they're, I just got hit, okay, those are on the plaintiff side. What I do is I defend cases like that. So I defend people who have been sued. So what we do on both sides of that bar is we go to the trial and I pick a jury. And after I pick a jury, I represent my client and I basically sell my story to the jury and try to be successful for my client. The plaintiffs, the people like the Jim Adlers and the Texas Hammers, they, by the way, I never see them in trial, but they will be on one side and they're trying to seek damages and I'm trying to represent my client. If I go to trial, usually it's a liability dispute, meaning that, let's say it's a swearing match at a green light, and my client said that they had the green light and they said that they had it, things like that. Gotcha. Or it could be a damages dispute, meaning the plaintiff wants $100,000 and my client's saying, I'm trying to limit it to $15,000 for my client. So it's those things. And when it gets to that, because it's a particular, set of law, it is skill involved because you have to be willing to talk to people that you don't know. And the law side, a lot of people think it's like memorization. You memorizing the law.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's what I thought too until I went to law school. What we really do is apply the law to whatever set of facts in a way that's beneficial for your client. It's not memorizing. Everybody, you can go to court, and a lot of people still bring their big books. I don't, because I keep it on my phone, on my laptop. But the law is the law. Yeah. So what we actually do and what I do when I go to trial is I sell a story. Yeah. That's what I do. You know what I mean? I get up in front of the jury and I sell a story. I don't tell any lies, but I sell that story in an influential way to where my client can benefit. I sell that story to the jury. And it's also a skill in picking a jury because you have to pick it before, those 12 people are on. Yeah. So it is a lot, but thankfully in those 10 years that I've been an attorney, I've had a chance to try a lot of cases. Yeah. And after a while, you really start to pick up on a lot of things when it comes to trying a case and picking a jury. Yeah. It's the most important part is picking a jury. If I pick a jury, most of the times I feel confident, not that I'm gonna win, but that I have a chance to win. And that's the big part of it. So that's what I do is I go to trial.
Dog, I love, like, when I first heard of being a lawyer, right? I was like, so you got to memorize all this law. But then once you start to grow up and you get to know people that really want to do law, they tell you the scoop is like, you don't have to know you don't have to memorize all the law. It's like you giving that story, and I think like you putting on it's in a sense a performance, right? Yeah. But it's a skilled performance in where you portraying, like you weighing the emotion of the jury to, like you said, for you. And I think that's too cold for people to just get up there and be like they use the law to their advantage. And I think that's amazing.
And I think it's a skill that I wish more of us knew. Like you and your charisma, you would be great at it. I work in an office where I'm the lead attorney. Mm-hmm. I'm the youngest attorney, but I'm the lead attorney. I'm the managing attorney of 10 other attorneys there. The reason that I am that is because of my success at trial. Okay. And success at trial, it doesn't have anything to do with how long you've been practicing. To me, this is what my experience has taught me. How long you've been practicing, your recollection of the law. Yeah, you have to know these things, but it's not as important as having the skill of having charisma and being able to articulate the way that you do. and not being afraid. And so that's something I'm always steadily, even trying to inform my attorneys that work for me at our firm. I'm always trying to convey that to them, of the importance of that. But it's certain things that you can't really teach. It's a skill, and it's a talent. And some people have it more than others. You can develop it and you can work on it. Sure. And you can still be a good trial attorney if that doesn't come natural to you. But with some people, that charisma comes natural. I see that in you. I think you'd be really good at it, actually. But that's the thing that I want to let people know, is that it's not as boring as what people might think. If you have that charisma and that skill set, you can do very well. If that's what you want to do, is be a trial attorney.
Man, that's crazy that you. I mean, like, I just, when I have kids one day, I just hope I can. That's why I do this. I want to do this podcast. It's to help other kids, help other people. Right? You don't got to be a kid. You can be an adult. You could be going through a whole switch, but you got time. It's never too late.
It's never too late. Yeah. And when I went to law school, I was one of those people who went straight out of college. So I graduated college. I was 22. I entered in law school. I was one of the youngest people, because most people actually take a break and they work. They work in life, and then they come back. So I would say the average age probably around 27, 28. It was a lot of people in their 30s. Yeah. It was even a police officer who had retired from the police force at HPD. Yeah. And he was in his 50s, and he went, got his pension, and he went to law school after. So it's never too late if you are really finding your passion and that's what you want to do. It's never too late.
Got you. Well, man, I appreciate you, man, for, spilling that, giving us what you do, man. We're coming to the tail end of the conversation, and I really just, at this point, I want to ask, one, did you want to become an attorney? Was it all about the money, right? I always want to ask, because people pick careers based off, like, I want to be a doctor because I know they make a lot of money. But you got to have a passion. You got to have that bedside care. You got to really have empathy for people if you want to be in the medical field. If you don't have empathy for people and you just chasing a dollar, it's not going to work. Same way with an attorney. I'm pretty sure it's a lot of work that has to go into preparing for these cases, picking a jury. Like, if you don't want to do that tedious work and you're just trying to chase a check, you're going to be tired. You might do 2-3 years, be burnt out. You're trying to figure out your passion. So, like, for one, was it all about the money? And then number two, is it hard being an attorney? I know it's hard in period, just being black, right? But I'm just saying, is it hard being an attorney, a black attorney? Do you feel like there's, things that, the system, that way, I'm trying to phrase this question the right way, but like where you work, is there anything that you could tell people, be like, you want to be careful about this because they might try to take advantage of you because you are this. You see what I'm saying? So I know I asked you two questions, but one is just, was it all about the money? And then two, what kind of heads up, what type of, how can you teach people to be on their P's and Q's to make sure, like, you're not being cheated, at your job, or you're being treated fairly at your job?
Right. No, I'm going to answer the second one first. Okay. I think that when I first became an attorney, especially because I was a younger looking attorney, and so initially what I would notice from judges, I'll tell you a story. One of my first jury trial ever, I was working in Dallas. So when I graduated from law school, the first firm I ever worked at was out of Dallas, and I worked there for 4 years before moving back to Houston. Mm-hmm. So I was a young attorney. And so I go to court for the first time for a trial, and the judge is there before me and my client. Mm-hmm. The judge assumed that my client was the attorney and that I was the client. Wow. He had got us mixed up because, I had, it was a white client, he was older, and he was what the judge, in his mind, felt that the attorney would look like. And we're in this small county outside of Dallas. It's called Collin County. And so that kind of taken me back a little bit. But just taking that, just knowing that, having the confidence that, and it took a while before I understood this, that my practice and the things that I knew, I was just as good or better than anybody else could do it. Right. I think I always felt that I did have to go a little bit harder and show that I was as good as I was.
Yeah.
But when you have that confidence and you know it yourself, you actually believe it.
Yep.
And you don't let fear control you. Like I said,
Yep.
when you actually believe it, I think it makes it easier to get through that. So that's one thing that I can say is the mindset of not allowing that fear to get into you, that fear that, maybe I am being held back. Maybe they aren't going to see me like that. Basically showing up with the mindset that even if it is that you're going to show them. And so I developed that early on, and that has helped me get to the position that I am right now, at least being a manager of that firm. The other thing when it comes to being about the money, I guess early on when I got into it, because I didn't know any attorneys, my parents didn't go to college, and I don't come from a background of people that go to college. So this is before the information age, really. Yeah. Like I wish that they had Google, YouTube was like, I can say what day in the life of an attorney, or Black Houston attorney. It wasn't any of that. So I was kind of going trial by error and just jumped into it. So I knew that I wanted to make money. I think I got lucky in my career being passionate about what I do and liking what I do, liking going to trial and actually being good at it. And so I think initially it might have been about the money, but over time, when I found out how much I liked it and had a passion for doing for my clients, what I do for them, it comes to what you mentioned earlier, the empathy. Yeah. And I'm gonna let you go. Sometimes I talk too much, but
you good.
One thing that jurors know, and I talk to every jury after my trial, one thing that they can pick up on is a fake attorney. And they will tell me, usually it's the other side is gone because I win. Yeah. But if you're faking your empathy, if you're faking like you have passion, if you're faking like you want to help somebody and you don't, or if you're trying to come off as if you're empathetic and nice, and that you're caring, but you're underneath of that, you're just doing it for the money, or you're rude, or you brash, that you can't hide it. Yeah. Somewhere during that trial, during that 8 hours that you're talking to those people, it's going to come out. Yeah. And people are really good at picking up on that. You can't fake it. Mm-hmm. So what I would say is to make sure you have a passion, make sure you have that empathy in whatever profession, especially if you are doing an attorney, but anybody else that helps people, make sure you have that passion. You can't fake it. People can see through it. Yeah. So if you don't have a passion for it, maybe you need to go back and do something else. Do something you're passionate about. That's something that's really important in all the attorneys. I tell them this all the time, so I feel like I'm just talking to the people that I talk to. But I tell the attorneys all the time, you have to have a passion for what you're doing, that people can pick up on it, and it's important that they can see right through it if you don't. So that's the major key right there.
Dang, that's crazy. Can't fake the funk.
Can't fake it, man. They see right through it every time.
Yeah,
every time.
Every time, man. And that's wisdom at its best. And I think it's cool that you actually a manager at your firm and you teaching young or older attorneys just how to be good at what they do. I think it's amazing what you do. I think your career is interesting. Who knows, man? I work for a company that they'll sponsor you to go back to school. Who knows? I might pick up a few law classes and figure my way out.
If you do contact me, just let me know.
Yeah, I got you. But man, I want to say it's been a great conversation. I had so much fun, man. I hope you had fun.
Oh, yeah, me too. This has been great.
Yeah, and what I'm going to do is what I like to end off the show is I got 6 questions. We got to try to answer them in 5 seconds, all right? So it's kind of like a little game. I got 6 questions, 5 seconds. After the game, I always ask for a recommendation. So the how I keep the podcast moving and how I keep it going is when I sit down with people, I asked them, give me somebody who you think is, super dope, somebody that you can add value to this podcast and can, just have a voice that most people haven't heard, right? Or people should hear what they have to say. And all I ask is that you give me that information as far as whether it's a social media, whether it's a telephone number, however they like to be contacted. Because I know it's a lot of scamming and all that type of stuff going on. So just let me know how they like to be contacted. If you can let them know, like, hey, I sat down with this guy Armand, got a podcast, great conversation. He's going to be reaching out to you. That's the only thing I ask. But other than that, we're going to hop into these questions real quick. So you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, cool. So question number 1, what's the quality people enjoy about you?
Smile, personality.
Okay, smile, personality. All right, here we go. Favorite TV show to binge watch?
Jeopardy. That tell you the nerd that I am. I'll watch Jeopardy all day, especially college Jeopardy.
Yeah, Jeopardy. Okay. If you could time travel, what period would you go back to?
Definitely go back to the 2005 and invest in Google and Bitcoin and Facebook.
For sure, man. I would love to be able to do that. Okay, what's more memorable, movies or music?
Movies.
Wow.
I always get an emotional sense and a nostalgia from watching an old movie that you haven't watched in a long time, but those are close. I'm going to go with movies, though.
I go with movies too. You the first person that ever said movies. That's why I was like, wow. Because most people say music, and I'm like, I can get it. I know music is the language across all cultures. Right. But a movie to me, like I can watch a movie and I can be like, I know exactly where I was at. I know the feeling I get from the movie. I hear music. I can tell you where that music come from, like what movie that's in. Certain lines, like that's crazy that you.
I'm the same way, and so that means you just like really into it. You're a thoughtful person. I'm the same way. Movies mean a lot to me, and I remember everything about them. Usually, when it's a movie that I like, it'll take me back. It'll take me back in time. Like the other question, that'll take me all the way back. I remember everything, all the music, the scores, the actors, everything.
Man, I'm telling you, that's crazy. So we got 25 hours in a day, so you got an extra hour. How do you spend the extra hour?
Spending reading. I think a lot of people kind of overlook that. Self-improvement is the most important time of the day. I would say self-improve by learning.
Okay, cool. And then last one, I'll give you a little bit more time. This is more of a thoughtful one, but when you leave Earth, what will people say about you?
I think, and this is something that I've talked to with another attorney in my office, because as people get older, they start thinking about this more. And I got a lot of older people that I work with too. I would expect that, I would hope that no matter what side that you know me on, even if I've tried a case against you, even if I've been on the other side of the law against you, at least that the person can find me a good person, that I didn't do anybody. I wasn't deceitful. I hope that nobody would say Jerome was a bad person. I would hope that even if we have differences in our opinions, ideology, politics, religion, or at the workplace, that you can see that I'm a good person.
That's what's up, man. In the core, he was a great person.
Yes.
I can tell you now, man, you left a mark on me, man. I think you're a super dope person. I think what you do is amazing. I appreciate you just taking the time out again and talking to me. So what's your recommendation? Somebody I got to sit down with. I'm new to the area, so like anybody you recommend, I'm going to be like, I don't know him. But I think that's part of the progression of the show and what we like. That's the uniqueness about the show.
Yes. Now I got a lot of friends that are business owners that do well too. So actually, I own a business and I have a business partner. And so you could talk to him about it, but his name is Michael Caballero.
Okay.
I represent, I want you to talk to him. It'll be a really good conversation. He's my business partner. We have another separate business outside of the law. Okay. So it'll be cool. It'll be a good conversation.
Super dope, man. If you could just link me up with Michael, I'll do the rest of the work from there and just kind of put myself out there and just let him know, man. And again, man, thank you. I'm going to give you back the rest of your day, man. And then I'll text you after this.
Okay.
All right, man.
Take care, man. Thank you.